The silence of the abandoned house is thick, heavy enough to taste. Dust motes dance in the solitary shaft of moonlight cutting through a grimy window, revealing an unsettling stillness. A cold draft whispers through unseen cracks, carrying with it a faint, sweet smell, like dried roses and something else, something metallic. Then a soft thud echoes from the floorboards above, a sound too deliberate to be the house settling. Is anyone else hearing this? Welcome, curious souls, to Room Beneath, where we uncover the shadows lurking just beyond your sight. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. Tonight, we delve into the chilling tale of an old house and a doll that was anything but ordinary. The old house loomed, a relic of forgotten lives, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. Jack, a man of 38 with a tired but kind face, pushed open the creaking front door, the sound echoing through the cavernous emptiness within. He carried a box of essentials, but his eyes were on Anna, his 7-year-old daughter, who clung to her worn teddy bear. "All right, Pumpkin," he said, his voice a little too loud in the silence. "This is it, our new adventure." Anna, a small, slender girl with bright blonde pigtails, peered into the dusty gloom. "It's big, Daddy." While Jack surveyed the bare, silent living room, Anna's curious blue eyes scanned the hallway, drawn by a splash of faded color in the gloom. Anna, her small sneakers kicking up puffs of dust, ventured deeper into the silence. Jack, busy trying to locate a light switch, didn't notice her drift towards a small, shadowy alcove. Tucked away amongst forgotten cobwebs and splintered floorboards, a doll lay face down. It was old, its porcelain face cracked, one button eye missing, and its once vibrant dress now faded to a somber gray. A strange sense of fascination, rather than fear, drew Anna in. She gently picked it up, cradling it in her arms. "Daddy, look what I found!" she called out, her voice a tiny bell in the vast quiet. Jack turned, rubbing the dust from his hands. He saw the doll and frowned slightly. "Where did you find that, sweetie? Probably best to leave old things where they are. It looks, well, a bit broken." Anna hugged the doll tighter, its lifeless body surprisingly cold against her. "But she's pretty, Daddy, and she's all alone." Jack sighed, seeing the earnest plea in his daughter's eyes. He knew better than to argue when Anna connected with something. "All right, but we need to clean her up, okay? She's probably full of dust bunnies." He tried to make a joke, but a faint, almost imperceptible shiver ran down his spine. Later that evening, after a makeshift dinner on the floor of the empty kitchen, Anna insisted on keeping the doll next to her. Jack laid out a sleeping bag for himself on the living room floor, exhaustion heavy in his bones. He glanced at Anna, already asleep, the doll propped up beside her, its remaining glass eye glinting in the faint moonlight filtering through the window. For a moment, he thought he saw it shift, watching him. The night wore on, punctuated by the unfamiliar creaks and groans of the old house settling. Jack tossed and turned, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. A soft scraping sound startled him awake. He sat up, straining his ears in the profound darkness. Silence. He told himself it was just the house, but then he heard it again. A faint scratching, this time distinctly from Anna's side of the room. He reached for his phone, its flashlight beam cutting a path through the gloom. It landed on Anna's sleeping bag, then on the doll. Its head was slightly tilted, different from how it had been before. And then, as the beam passed over the doll's remaining eye, Jack saw it. A glint of reflected light, but also, for a terrifying split second, the distinct impression of a slow, deliberate blink. His heart hammered in his chest. Anna stirred, murmuring in her sleep. Jack's breath caught in his throat, a cold dread washing over him. He was not alone in that room, and neither was Anna. Jack's blood ran cold. He stared at the doll, his phone's flashlight beam trembling slightly. He blinked hard, trying to dismiss what he'd seen as a trick of the light, a figment of his exhaustion. But the image of that slow, deliberate blink was seared into his mind. He slowly lowered the phone. Anna was still peacefully asleep beside it. He had to be imagining things. This was an old, broken toy. He reached out, his hand hovering over the doll, a strange repulsion keeping him from touching it. "Daddy," Anna mumbled, stirring slightly, her eyes still closed. Jack quickly pulled his hand back. "Go back to sleep, Pumpkin. Just checking on you." The next morning, the memory of the doll's blink felt like a disturbing dream. Jack, though, couldn't shake the unease. As Anna played with her worn brown teddy bear in a patch of sunlight, the old doll lay abandoned on the floor. Jack picked it up, its cold porcelain sending a fresh shiver through him. "Sweetie," he began, trying to keep his voice light, "maybe we should put this doll away somewhere safe. It's really old, and I don't want it getting more broken." Anna looked up, her bright blue eyes wide. "But she likes being with me, Daddy. She told me." Jack's heart skipped a beat. "She told you?" He forced a smile. "No, Pumpkin, dolls don't talk." He walked towards a storage box in the corner, but a sudden, sharp creak from the floorboards directly beneath his feet made him stumble, nearly dropping the doll. Despite Anna's protests, Jack gently placed the doll into a sturdy cardboard box, covering it with an old blanket. "There," he said, more to himself than to Anna. "Out of sight, out of mind." But it wasn't. Throughout the day, faint, almost imperceptible sounds seemed to emanate from the box's general direction. A soft rustling, a tiny thud. He dismissed them as the house settling or his imagination playing tricks. Later, while he was unpacking dishes in the kitchen, Anna called out from the living room. "Daddy, look! She found her way out!" Jack rushed in, his stomach clenching. There, on the dusty floor, was the doll. Not just out of the box, but propped upright, facing the kitchen, as if waiting for him. The old blanket lay crumpled beside the open box. Jack felt a cold wave of fear wash over him. "Anna," he managed, his voice tight, "did you take the doll out?" Anna shook her head, her pigtails swaying. "No, Daddy, she just appeared. She wanted to play." Jack stared at the doll, then back at his daughter's innocent face. He knew Anna wouldn't lie about something like this. He picked up the doll again, its coldness now feeling deeply sinister. As he held it, he noticed a faint, almost imperceptible scent in the air, something sweet yet cloying, like old roses and dust. He turned, intending to throw it outside, when a floorboard directly behind him groaned loudly. He spun around, but nothing was there. He looked back at the doll in his hands, and its remaining button eye, usually dull and faded, now seemed to gleam with a faint, internal light, fixated on him. A whisper, cold and dry, seemed to brush against his ear, a sound that wasn't sound, but a feeling of a name being called. Jack. The whisper, dry and cold, was a phantom touch against Jack's ear, a sensation of his name being spoken without a sound. He gripped the doll tighter, its single glowing eye fixed on him, an impossible beacon in the dim room. His heart thundered, not just with fear, but a visceral violation. He snatched Anna's old blanket from the floor, roughly wrapping the doll in it, muffling its unsettling gleam. "No," he whispered, his voice hoarse, "you're not playing with us." He hurried to the kitchen, shoving the wrapped doll into the darkest corner of a low cabinet behind some dusty pots, hoping the darkness would swallow whatever malevolence it held. He leaned against the counter, gasping for breath, the image of that glowing eye burned into his retina. The morning brought a deceptive calm, but the air in the house felt thick, charged with an unseen presence. Jack woke with a headache, the memory of the night clinging to him like a shroud. He decided a distraction was needed. "Anna, how about we go get some groceries?" he called. Anna, sitting quietly in the living room, was humming to herself. When Jack walked in, his blood ran cold. The cabinet door in the kitchen was wide open. The blanket-wrapped doll was no longer inside. Instead, it was propped up on the armrest of an old, dusty armchair in the living room, facing Anna, who was drawing intently. Anna looked up, her bright blue eyes innocent. "She wanted to see my drawing, Daddy." Panic began to claw at Jack's throat. This wasn't a coincidence, nor was it Anna's doing. He had to understand what he was dealing with. After convincing Anna to play outside in the overgrown yard, he grabbed his laptop, its screen a small rectangle of light in the dim living room. He typed "Old Porcelain Dolls Haunted" and "Empty Houses Local Legends" into the search bar, his fingers trembling. As he scrolled through old forum posts and local history archives, the house around him seemed to come alive. Faint whispers seemed to drift from empty hallways. Shadows stretched and danced in his peripheral vision, and a cold draft brushed his neck, even though all windows were closed. He found a local historical society entry mentioning the house and a family tragedy decades ago involving a young girl and a missing heirloom doll. A sense of unease solidified into dread. The historical record mentioned a name, Elara. It didn't elaborate, but the name echoed strangely in Jack's mind. He heard Anna's small voice from the living room, a soft sing-song tune. "Elara, Elara, come out and play." Jack's blood ran cold. He slammed his laptop shut, rushing into the living room. Anna was sitting on the floor, talking to the doll. But it wasn't just talking. The doll's single remaining eye was now glowing distinctly, a vibrant, malevolent red. Anna reached out a hand, and as she touched the doll's porcelain face, a faint, almost transparent child's hand seemed to reach out from within the doll, grasping Anna's small fingers. A bone-chilling cold filled the room, and Anna let out a small, terrified whimper, her eyes wide with a fear Jack had never seen before. He opened his mouth to scream her name, but no sound came out. The spectral child's hand, faint and translucent, seemed to clasp Anna's small fingers, and the bone-chilling cold in the room intensified, stealing Jack's voice. His daughter's terrified whimper finally shattered his paralysis. With a guttural cry, Jack lunged forward, grabbing Anna and pulling her away from the doll with desperate force. The moment he broke their connection, the doll's malevolent red eye flared, and a piercing, dry shriek, like porcelain scraping against glass, echoed through the house, rattling the very foundations. Anna clung to him, sobbing uncontrollably, her small body trembling. "Dengan suara lantang dan bicara cepat." Jack held Anna tight, rocking her gently as she sobbed into his chest. "It's okay, Pumpkin. Daddy's here," he murmured, though his own heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He glared at the doll, still sitting eerily upright on the armchair, its red eye pulsing faintly. He snatched it up, the cold porcelain burning his hand, and, without thinking, hurled it across the living room with all his might. It struck the far wall with a sickening crack, falling behind a heavy antique bookshelf. "Don't you ever touch my daughter again," he snarled, his voice raw with fury and fear. Anna, though, only shivered and whispered, She said her name, Daddy, Elara." The house felt like a tomb after that, a heavy silence pressing down on them. Jack tried to comfort Anna, but her terror was profound, a raw wound in his heart. She refused to let go of him, even when he tried to prepare a simple meal. Later, as dusk bled into night, Anna began to hum, a soft, tuneless melody that grated on Jack's nerves. He looked at her, her eyes distant, unfocused. "Anna, what's wrong, sweetie?" She didn't respond, her humming growing slightly louder, more rhythmic. A chill seeped into the room, and Jack noticed the air around Anna seemed to shimmer, as if a heat haze had descended, but it was cold, not warm. He frantically searched for his phone, needing to light up the encroaching shadows. As Jack's fingers fumbled for his phone, a low, rasping whisper filled the room, seeming to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You broke her. You broke Elara." It wasn't Anna's voice, nor was it Jack's. It was ancient, filled with a cold, vengeful sorrow. Then, from behind the bookshelf where Jack had thrown the doll, a faint red light began to pulse, growing steadily brighter. The entire house groaned, the floorboards beneath their feet vibrating. Anna's humming stopped abruptly. Her head slowly turned towards the bookshelf, her expression now completely blank, devoid of fear or recognition. Her lips parted, and in a voice that was clearly not her own, she whispered, "She's not broken. She's coming." The red light from behind the bookshelf pulsed one final blinding time, and then a shadowy, childlike figure began to coalesce within its glow. The shadowy figure behind the bookshelf fully coalesced, no longer a mere glow, but a translucent, ethereal child, identical to the broken doll, yet whole and vibrant, emanating a chilling red light. Her eyes, two perfect red buttons, fixed on Jack with an ancient malevolence. Anna stood frozen beside him, her own eyes still glazed over, her small hand reaching out towards the spectral child as if drawn by an invisible thread. Jack, still reeling from the sound of Elara's voice from Anna's lips, let out a strangled cry, a primal instinct to protect his daughter overwhelming him. The air grew impossibly cold, and a faint, sweet scent of decay, heavy and cloying, filled his nostrils. "Anna, no!" Jack roared, finally finding his voice in a guttural surge. He lunged forward, scooping Anna into his arms with desperate force, pulling her away from the spectral child. Elara's red glow intensified, flaring outwards, and a gust of icy, unnatural wind swept through the room, making the old floorboards creak and the tattered curtains billow violently. The ethereal figure solidified slightly, her form becoming more defined, her gaze filled with a cold, ancient fury that promised vengeance. Jack stumbled back, clutching Anna tightly, his phone's flashlight beam now useless, swallowed by the supernatural darkness that seemed to emanate directly from Elara. Jack backed away, stumbling over unseen obstacles, his gaze locked on the menacing form of Elara, trying to find an exit, any escape from the frigid, oppressive grip of her presence. The spectral child drifted effortlessly towards them, her translucent form growing larger, more menacing with every inch gained. "You took her from me," a voice dry and brittle like autumn leaves echoed directly inside Jack's mind, not spoken aloud, but felt with chilling clarity. "She was mine. This house, it's mine." Jack pressed Anna's face deeper into his shoulder, shielding her, his eyes darting frantically around the crumbling room, searching for a weapon, a shield, anything to fend off this impossible horror. The air grew heavy, thick with oppressive despair, and the faint scent of old roses turned sickeningly pungent. Just as Elara reached out a translucent hand, her button eyes blazing with vengeful fire, Jack spotted a glimmer beneath a dusty, overturned chair. A heavy, antique silver cross, tarnished but intact, caught the faint light. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, he shoved Anna behind him and snatched up the cross, thrusting it forward like a shield. Elara recoiled with a soundless shriek, her form flickering violently, her red glow dimming for a fleeting moment. Jack felt a sudden, fleeting surge of hope, a desperate spark in the overwhelming darkness. But then, Elara's eyes narrowed, and a cold, cruel smile stretched across her translucent face. "You think that can stop me, Daddy?" she whispered, her voice a chilling echo of Anna's innocent tone, cutting through the silence. The floorboards beneath Jack's feet groaned, and the entire house began to shake violently, dust raining down from the ceiling as if the very structure was tearing itself apart. The house's violent tremor threatened to tear it apart, plaster dust raining down like ash. Jack, 38, medium height, athletic build, short brown hair, tired but kind eyes, beard stubble, stood defiant. Anna, 7, small, slender build, long blonde hair in pigtails, bright, curious blue eyes, clutched behind him. He held the tarnished silver cross aloft, its dull gleam a tiny defiance against Elara's menacing red light. Elara, the translucent, ethereal child with 2 perfect red button eyes, replicated the doll's cracked face and faded gray dress, solidified further, her form flickering with raw power. "This house is my prison, Daddy," she hissed, her voice a chilling echo of Anna's innocent tone. "And you're not leaving." The floorboards splintered underfoot, and a section of the ceiling crashed down near them. "Anna, stay behind me!" Jack yelled, his voice strained. He took a desperate step back, dragging Anna with him towards the front door. The old house groaned like a dying beast, but Elara remained untouched, her ethereal form unyielding. She glided towards them, a predatory smile stretching across her translucent face. "There's nowhere to run," she sang, her voice echoing in their minds. "You broke me, now you'll stay with me forever." The faint scent of old roses and decay grew overpowering, suffocating them. As Elara closed in, her translucent hand reaching for Anna, the silver cross in Jack's hand flared with an unexpected warmth. He pushed it forward again, a desperate prayer forming on his lips. "Leave us alone, Elara! What do you want?" The spectral child paused, her red eyes burning into him. "I want my peace," she whispered, her voice regaining a hint of a child's sorrow, a chilling vulnerability. "I want to be whole again. This house, it keeps me here. My other eye, it sees everything." Jack's eyes darted to the doll, still behind the bookshelf, a small, broken thing hidden amidst the rubble. The other eye. It had to be the missing button eye from the doll. If the doll was the anchor, perhaps... Jack glanced at the bookshelf, now partially collapsed, the doll buried somewhere beneath it. He had to retrieve it, but Elara was a wall of cold fury between him and his only chance. "Anna," he gasped, "stay here!" He shoved her towards a sturdy, still-standing wall, then lunged past Elara, ignoring her wailing shriek towards the pile of debris. His hands tore through splintered wood and broken plaster, frantic, searching. Just as his fingers closed around something small and glassy, the entire ceiling above him gave way with a deafening crash, plunging the room into a blinding cloud of dust and darkness. Anna screamed, her voice piercing the chaos. For more chilling tales like this video, subscribe to the Room Beneath channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next story.